making it to the WAP conference, the workshop on alternative research paradigms. I struggled earlier to remember a quotation, but I can remember it very clearly now. I'll just say it to you, and I hope it forms the foundation of what we'll be doing at this time during the workshop. It's a quotation, I still can't remember the person, but I remember the quotation clearly. It says, in times of change, the learning will inherit the earth, while the learned, those people who have stopped learning, will find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Now, in a nutshell, that's what the WAP 2011 is just about. It's about the story of two worlds. Someone else will call it a tale of two cities. It's about two worlds that are coming to bear. One world, the world that we have held with high esteem. The world that says that you have to count something to conquer it. The world that minimizes the story of you and I. We're bringing that world today into our context, and we're reimagining it and saying, can't there be a paradigm shift? Can't we reimagine the ways we've related to the researched? Can't we reimagine the ways we've done what we do as academics? So I'd like to congratulate you, and I'd like you to help me do that task. Turn to your neighbor and say, welcome, this workshop is about you. Turn to your neighbor and say, welcome, this workshop is about you. I'm not in the position of anybody in the clergy, but I'd just like to say this, that please follow my instructions and say, welcome to this workshop, it is about your story. Please do that. Welcome to this workshop, it is about your story. Your story will be heard in Jesus' mighty name. Please tell that to the next person, your story will be heard. For the first time in this context, for the first time in Covenant University, for the first time in the Department of Psychology, I'd like to appreciate the students of the Department of Psychology. Can I get a wiper or a hand clap? Thank you very much for making it. For the first time in this context, we are reimagining what it means to be academics, reimagining what it means to be students. And I know that as we leave here, our stories will be told for the benefit of the world. Thank you very much, and welcome.
Please clap for Mr. Atomolako. And quickly, we'll take the keynote address. But I don't have the privilege to introduce the scholar that will be giving us this keynote address. So I take permission from the Vice Chancellor, who is the chair of this occasion today, to ask Dr. Adejumo to please come and introduce Professor Jack Whitehead to this August gathering.
Thank you, the MC. My Vice Chancellor, I call her my Vice Chancellor because she taught me, she supervised me, mentored me, and I always call her my Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for an important thing, and very soon you will hear from the horse's mouth. Permit me to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Professor Jack Whitehead of Liverpool Open University, UK. Sir, please stand and remain standing. Thank you, sir. Stand up and remain standing. Thank you, sir. Professor Jack Whitehead of Liverpool Old University, UK, is former president of British Educational Research Association, distinguished scholar in residence at Westminster College, Utah, USA, is a visiting professor, Teachers University in China. Professor Jack Whitehead of Liverpool Open University is an author of many books on action research, especially with Professor Jane McNeil, and the author of several papers on living educational theory. I have the singular honor to invite Professor Jack Whitehead from Center for the Child and Family, Liverpool Open University, United Kingdom. Please put your hands together for Professor Jack Whitehead. of Liverpool University, UK. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Please, you may sit.
Could I just check that you can hear me, because I'm using my computer here, and I may not just be able to have the microphone. Could I just check? Can you hear me at the back? Oh, that's really good. Well, I'd just like to start by thanking the Vice-Chancellor, who gave me a most warm and it was a very humane and caring introduction to this conference and to Covenant University. The senior management of the university were also present, and I must say that I've never had such a caring and a warm and a genuine introduction to anywhere that I've visited around the world. So I just want to say thank you for that caring introduction, and also for the badge that I was presented with, which introduced me to the family at Covenant University. And this does mean something because of the way in which it was presented. And I want also just to make sure that what Bio's introduction was saying about your story, this really is very important indeed for what I'm going to be saying. Because it will only be through you researching yourselves and the values that you're trying to live, the values of Covenant University, that will actually help to bring the knowledge that is in this room to be shared with other people, so that your influence can spread the world over. So not just within this locality or even within Nigeria, but I want to show you how through the internet you could actually spread your stories with your values that you're living here as wide as the internet goes, which is global. So that is what I'm going to focus on for the next 30 minutes. And I might have the internet connection, because it was quite difficult to set it up. And is there anybody here that can just let me know if the internet connection was actually working? Now, because what I want to do is to show you how I brought you resources from around the world that you can access with the touch of a button. That at this moment, the stories of other people from around the world that I've actually worked with, whether it's China or Japan and South America, there's also from Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, as well as the UK and Ireland, and Norway and Croatia, that I've had workshops on action research and living theory. And everybody has put their stories onto the internet that you can access with the click of a button. Now, those stories are actually flowing through this room at the moment. They're flowing, you won't know this, but they're actually flowing through your bodies through the electromagnetic radiation that this computer, and if you had your computers, can actually connect with. So you have your wireless connection working, you can access those stories and put your stories on the internet so that they can share the values that you hold. One of the problems of the African stories becoming known more widely is that you haven't got the kind of internet access that I enjoy, for example, in the West. I have access within my home, within my workplace. It is reliable. I can just click on the button and access the stories. And I only regret not being able to videotape the welcome that I received from the Vice-Chancellor and the various senior members of the university, because the quality of the relationships, the actual values that were being expressed, could have immediately been put on the internet. Would you like to just, are we okay? Sorry, we're just checking if I can show you for the internet. Can you click on that? Yeah, that's second. We're just going to check if we can demonstrate this process of getting your stories onto the internet. Because if I could have put the welcome ceremony onto the internet to show the values that are being lived at Covenant University, this would have made a big impact on other people around the world that could appreciate the quality of the relationships that you've established here. Now, I hope I'm making sense to you, because I'm asking you to research your own practice and your own relationships and have the confidence that this really is very significant knowledge, the knowledge embodied in who you are and what you're doing. especially the values that you hold in Covenant University. But I'll just check just to see if I can actually bring you the resources I prepared for you on the internet. Now, my website is actionresearch.net. It says at the moment it's unable to open it. But if you get to home, and you just remember this name, which is to do with actionresearch.net. If you could take that down, actionresearch, all one word, .net, you'll be able to access this talk from my website. And what I've done here, just in case it didn't work, is to put the front page of my website so that you can see what will come up when you put actionresearch.net. Now, I'm known for the development of an idea. And the idea is that each individual in this room can create their own living educational theory. That when Bio talked about your stories and asked you just to talk and introduce yourselves, it is your stories which are really important to get onto the internet. And one of your Nigerian poets has actually put it very well. Now, I'll just mention this because one of your poets, called Ben Okri, I don't know if you know his work, but Ben Okri talked about the importance of stories. And he said that stories are what we live by. And what he said was this: to poison a nation, poison its stories. A demoralized nation tells demoralized stories to itself. Beware of the storytellers who are not fully conscious of the importance of their gifts and who are irresponsible in the application of their art. Now, I liked very much the third stanza that I've taken from Ben Okri, and the second as well. Just look at that one. Stories are the reservoir, secret reservoir of values. Change the stories individuals or nations live by and tell themselves, and you change the individuals and nations. Now, Covenant University has got a unique set of values that it is committed to and wishing to live as fully as it can. And you are carrying those values, but you are not yet researching your own practice in terms of those values and making your stories public and sharing them on the world. And that is what is now needed, I think, for what Ben Okri is saying. And remember that this is coming from a Nigerian poet. Now, nations and people are largely the stories they feed themselves. If they tell themselves stories that are lies, they will suffer the future consequences of those lies. Now, this is the key part. If they tell themselves stories that face their own truths, they will free their histories for future flowerings. And that is what Ben Okri, as a poet, is advocating that we all do. We get in touch with the values that matter to us, we research them, and this is where the living educational theory is very important. Because a living educational theory is your explanation of your influence as you try to improve your practice with others. Now, I'll repeat this because I first had to change my view of educational theory in 1971. I was studying educational theory at London University with the most significant professors of the day in philosophy. They were called Richard Peters and Paul Hurst. And they were telling their students that educational theory was made up of philosophy, psychology, sociology, and history of education. Now, I was coming to their philosophy seminars out of teaching science classes in the East End of London. Educational theory, according to the philosophy professors, wasn't actually connected to my explanations that I was giving as a teacher. In fact, they said that my practical principles were at best crude and superficial. They were just crude maxims that had a first crude and superficial justification in practice. That in any rationally developed theory would be replaced by principles from the philosophy, psychology, sociology, and history. Now, am I making sense here? Because this is the big transformation that I believe the alternative paradigms that we're studying here at this workshop need to face. We need to be able to confront the people that are telling us